Get ready, Novas Nation. The countdown is on. The Supernovas return to the court this January with team captain Brooke Nunaviller and returning Huskers Merritt Beeson and GM John Cook. This season promises to be bigger, louder, and more electrifying than ever with world-class professional volleyball lighting up Omaha. Season tickets keep you at the center of every moment with the best fans in pro volleyball. Secure your seats today at supernovas.com.
Hello and welcome to Volleyball State, a look at the sport of volleyball in 6 rotations and a proud part of the I-80 Club. I'm Jeff Sheldon.
I'm Lincoln Arneal.
Today on the show, Nebraska cements themselves as the front runner for now for the Big Ten championship. Harper Murray goes off and has something to do about that, but some other top teams do have to sweat this weekend. We're going to talk about Texas surviving, Pittsburgh getting stunned, and a whole lot more. Lincoln, it was a great week of college volleyball, not just weekend, but we're starting things. It's like 6 days a week now.
Yeah. Monday and Tuesday, a little bit hit or miss too, depending on the week too, but definitely Wednesday through Sunday there's great volleyball on. Ranked teams are taking on each other. And if you're just sitting at home in front of your TVs, you don't always, if you got a cable subscription, you watch it. You don't have to have
you can stream Big West matches on ESPN Plus on Tuesday nights.
One night I caught the start of the Hawaii Cal Poly match. I think around midnight on Friday night. Great stuff. If
you're joining us live, we're recording this and streaming on Sunday night. If you're an I-80 Club subscriber, you could watch Hawaii play tonight because I think they start at 11 p.m. Central Time. I don't, Hawaii's not having a great season, but if you want volleyball, you could still watch it.
Yes, all the sickos out there that can't get enough like us. Thanks for listening.
Awesome. Tell the folks what we're going to be talking about. Of course, we're going to be talking about this Nebraska-Purdue match, but there's a whole lot of action going on this weekend.
We're going to start right there. Rotation 1, we're coming up with the heavy hitters. The most recent match for the Huskers, Purdue match on Sunday. Then we're in rotation 2. We're going to jump back in time and talk about Nebraska's win over Washington from Friday night. We'll take a look around the Big Ten in rotation 3. Some surprising results coming out of the conference as well there too. The rotation 4, we'll do some national recap, check on some other teams in the top 10, who's thriving, who's injured, who's struggling with everything else, and get checking there. Rotation 5, we'll close up looking at Michigan State, upcoming match on Friday. Then Nebraska is doing the glove. It's the mitten trip, right? They're Michigan State, and then they will go to Michigan also this weekend. So we'll close up there, rotation 6.
It feels like Nebraska played Michigan 6 days ago in the Devaney Center and John Cook Arena, and now they're going out there to Ann Arbor.
Yeah, and it's going to be the same thing because they play Michigan State twice in about 12 days because they bookend this trip. They start this trip and then they close up next weekend at home.
They don't do that thing with the travel partners anymore, right? Where you play your travel partner twice in 5 days, because they would used to they would play Iowa. Nebraska would play Iowa on Wednesday and then turn around and play them again on Saturday. They don't do that anymore. Not
really. I mean, there's sometimes our travel partner. I mean, Nebraska's going to Michigan State this weekend, but they've done a lot of mixing because Nebraska's 3 double plays are the 2 Michigan schools and Penn State, which aren't really geographic friendly for a midweek match.
No, not at all. I mean, we've just with what the Big Ten is now, we've kind of thrown geography out the window. And math. We did that a long time ago. But before we get into all the recaps and the reactions and the analysis, I want to say a big thank you to our friends at Alumni Hall for sponsoring tonight's show and all of our shows this fall. They're the ultimate Husker shopping destination. They've got 2 brick and mortar locations in Lincoln. One's downtown at 11th and P, right across the street from the Lincoln Grand Movie Theater, and also down at South Point Pavilions, 27th and Pine Lake Road. Plus, you can shop online anytime at alumnihall.com. They've got more volleyball merchandise than any competing retailer. Lincoln, I was in church this morning and I saw a woman wearing a Nebraska volleyball t-shirt who I imagine was heading right home, skipping, the donuts and the coffee afterwards. It was game day to get home in time to watch the match. The weather's starting to cool off in the Midwest right now. It definitely feels like fall. And that means for the dudes, you got your Cutter and Buck fleece half zip from Alumni Hall. You've also got your Charlie Hustle script long sleeve hoodie from our friends in Kansas City. And let's see here. I think the volleyball game day giveaway is still going on. You can win 2 tickets to the Nebraska-Michigan State match in John Cook Arena on October 25th, plus a $100 Alumni Hall gift card. You can sign up for that in-store and online at alumnihall.com. We're going to save you 15% on your purchases as well. You go in the store, you tell them you're a Volleyball State listener and you want that VB State discount. They're going to save you 15%. Or if you go online to alumnihall.com, just use the promo code Volleyball State. All together, all one word. It'll save you 15%. Thanks to our friends at Alumni Hall for supporting volleyball, supporting the Huskers, and supporting our show this fall. Yeah, go ahead. I saw you do the finger point.
I like it. No, if you have any
finger point, or did you have something you wanted to jump in?
I'll just say, if you have any issues, but then not getting the discount, talk to a manager, get it taken care of, save that 15%.
Or talk to us and we'll yell at them. Yeah. That's happened before.
Yes,
but the people at Alumni Hall have been great to work with. We really like talking with Beth, who we worked with on this partnership, and on the great folks at Alumni Hall. If they don't have what you want, if it's out of stock, they can probably order it as well, and they can give you some great gift ideas, because we're coming up into holiday season as well. You need to get a great Nebraska gift for someone in your life. Alumni Hall is the place to go. Save you 15% with Volleyball State promo code. We talk a lot. Alumni Hall has great support. This is a ham-fisted transition. Harper Murray didn't get a ton of support, I would say, on Sunday. She got some, but really didn't need a lot, because, my goodness, this was the Kaiju final form version of Harper Murray that we saw on Sunday as we go into rotation one.
Yeah. This was the Harper Murray show. And it really, she had the first point for Nebraska, and it was really clean throughout the entire match. Hopefully by now you know the numbers: 16 kills, 25 swings, 0 hitting errors. That equates out to a nice, robust 640 hitting percentage.
And we should say, too, the score of the match. Nebraska goes into West Lafayette, into a very tough place to play. I always know that Nebraska is going to struggle when they go into Holloway Gym. Were you surprised at all that Nebraska didn't warrant the big arena treatment, and instead goes into Purdue's regular home court and beats them 25-23, 25-16, 25-15 over the number 12 team in the country?
Yeah. To answer your arena question, no, because I think that they're afraid if they do that, then it's going to be a Nebraska fan invasion. They can control the environment, make it a little more hostile for the Huskers, even though there was a lot of red in there because it was fall break. So maybe not as many students on campus for that. But they do that for matches like Indiana, and I think they did it Illinois as well as too. So I don't think. Dave Shondell is a genius in a lot of worlds of the volleyball spectrum. But I think that if they do that, they're just inviting 10,000 or 8,000 Nebraska fans to descend upon West Lafayette.
This match was tight early in game one, and we're going to go game by game here in a minute, but then Nebraska blew it wide open in game 2 and 3. Huskers hit 349 on Sunday. Lincoln, that's the 7th straight match that Nebraska has hit better than 300. That goes all the way back to the Creighton match where they hit 250. But then you look, Nebraska's only hit below 300 1, 2, 3 times this year, and for the season they're hitting 327, which is, I believe, 3rd in the country right now.
Yeah, I believe that's a trend. That's no longer an anomaly. I think Nebraska has established itself as a very highly efficient offense, and this is their identity now. So it's no longer. I don't know the last time we mentioned that, but it's not noteworthy anymore. It's something that Nebraska does, and it was led by Harper Murray. Andy Jackson was really great too. She had 12 kills, hit 450 for her too. So it was. Yeah, I think this is who Nebraska is. And again, it goes back to our case we made. Jeff laid this out in our newsletter last week, and that Bergen Riley could be one of the front runners for Conference Player of the Year. I don't know if we get many more Harper Murray performances like this today.
Yeah, Harper Murray might have something to say about that, as it turns out, because to me, Lincoln, this was a little bit of an atypical Nebraska match. Usually when Nebraska puts up a hitting number like that, it means 4 or 5 hitters are going off. Nebraska, if you told me before the match, hey Jeff, or asked me what's Nebraska's hitting percentage going to be when Rebecca Alec has sort of a subpar match for her, they get almost nothing out of Virginia Adriano, and Landfair was solid, but had 6 kills on 13 swings. It's not like she had 12 kills on 20 swings. If you had asked me what Nebraska's hitting percentage was going to be under those circumstances, I'm like, well, maybe they get to 250. I don't know. They're really grinding it out. No, Nebraska hits 349, and they do it because Harper Murray had 16 kills and no errors on 25 swings. A 6-rotation outside hitter hitting 640 in a match where they're also a primary passer and defender is kind of nuts.
Yeah, yeah. She's busy the whole match playing sick rotate, and she did from everywhere. She did from left pin. She got a lot of back row attack. Excuse me. And and really, I mean, you got a lot of junk balls too, out of system stuff that she was able to terminate. I think her shot selection was one thing that really made the difference, knowing when to roll, knowing when to push, and knowing when she went down the line a couple times too. So it was just, you seen, like you said, this is the next evolution of Harper Murray from being just a hitter that's ability to take over to someone who is carries the team on their back.
This is probably the best out of system hitting match I've seen from her, maybe since the Kentucky match, where she had some big out of system swings. But like Purdue just couldn't stop her. She would hit line. She tooled a few times early, which I always think is a good sign for Harper Murray. And then like hitting out of the back row, there's maybe a handful of outsides in the country who can hit back row kind of the way she does. And she's not an opposite, so she never plays left back defense. I don't believe. And so she doesn't get set like D balls, like a Kennedy Martin or an Olivia Babcock would. It's all on the pipe. Like she comes right down the middle. She has the whole court to kind of survey. She tooled to end game one, which I think was probably the most important swing she had in the match. And then, oh, by the way, she also added 2 aces, had a couple of blocks as well. Like, you know, the kids would say, "Go off, Queen." It was a wonderful match from Harper Murray.
Yeah, those blocks came on back to back, and they're both solo affairs. So yeah, she was able to contribute in every single match, and that's why she was the epitome of what Nebraska needs her to be. And really, I don't know. She's had other matches where she's emerged late. Like I think about the Wisconsin match that went 5 sets a couple years ago. But I think as far as from start to finish, this may have been her best match.
Yeah. Well, and not too shabby on the weekend as well. If you look back over the Washington match as well, she had 28 kills and 1 error on 52 swings. So your OH1 hits 519 on the weekend. Like that is just some crazy stuff. And it was great to see. You know, I think John Baylor ran those numbers by Danny Busboom Kelly after the match in the post-match radio interview, and she, you know, kind of giggled and deadpanned a little bit. It was like, wow, those are some pretty good numbers. Like the numbers aren't everything, but when you factor in what she's asked to do as a primary passer, what she's asked to do defensively as well, it'll be interesting to see what the passing numbers are like when they come out on Monday. But she passed really well against Washington too. And so, you know, I was worried that the way Nebraska could potentially be challenged in this match is if Kenna Woolard was the best player in the match, like if they just fed her and Nebraska couldn't stop her, which is sort of how it went in game one. But, you know, Harper Murray, and then with some great performance from Andy Jackson as well, just really kind of turned him back and sort of absorbed Purdue's best punch in the first set. And after they did that, like it was Nebraska, the team that raised their level in games 2 and 3, and Purdue just couldn't sustain theirs.
Yeah. And to me, I think Danny made a comment in post game that really kind of indicated what happened. She said they tried to simulate Purdue's offense and their speed, and it really kind of caught them off guard. And that maybe was the block was late and they weren't getting enough hands on the Purdue attack. But once they made the adjustments and were able to do that, that really, I mean, that's where you saw Nebraska run away with those last two sets. And I think that's what Nebraska struggled with, because Woolard had 8 kills of her own during that first set too. And I mean, she has a great array of shots as well, but I think it was the speed of Purdue that really kind of helped them get out in front early.
Yeah, I know last week on the show, I spent a lot of time talking about just how poor I thought Penn State played in that match on Friday. I thought this weekend, both of Nebraska's actually played pretty good. Like these teams, Washington and Purdue, were not giving Nebraska a lot. They weren't making dumb mistakes, and they served Nebraska really tough, I thought, especially Purdue in game one. Nebraska just had to raise their level of play and was able to do it. And they got some contributions from some players that you don't normally see on the court for Nebraska. Like Virginia Adriano really struggled. I think she ended up with 3 kills, 4 errors in just over a set. And they took her out and they put in Ali Czech, who played really well, had 5 kills, no errors on 8 swings. And to be able to bring a player like that off the bench when your starter is struggling just shows you how much depth Nebraska has.
Yeah, that was, I mean, she only played, I think, the final 4 or 5 points of the second set and then all of the third set too. Yeah, she was very terminal. So it was good to see her kind of, I mean, it's mentally, it's hard to get into that match when you don't know when you're going to get called upon, but she was able to come in. She had a kill during the final 6-0 run in the second set and then just carried that through to the third set too. And I mean, Olivia Malk, I thought had a great match too. She had a couple of aces, 12 digs. I don't have serve reception numbers because it was on the road, so I don't get a full stat sheet yet.
Actually, they do have this in the box score. It looked like Choboy handled 18 serves. She had the most. Sigler had 14. They only served Murray 8 times.
Yeah.
So between Choboy and Sigler, that was 32 serve receptions.
Yeah, so they focus on, which I think is what we're going to see from a lot of opponents are going at. Going away from Malk and not giving Harper Murray unless they're trying to wear her down, which Purdue did not do that today.
Absolutely not. One of the things, Lincoln, I thought was most impressive about, especially on Sunday, Nebraska's in a stretch right now where 5 of their 6 matches are on the road. They had to go out to the East Coast last weekend. They got a home game. It felt like a weird, like Island Oasis home game. They come home and play with Washington on Friday, and then immediately have to get on a plane on Saturday and go out to West Lafayette to play at noon on Sunday. Nebraska is showing a lot of poise in some really tough road environments. And like, say what you want about what Penn State is looking like this year. They did beat Wisconsin this week, and that's a tough crowd. Like, the students are into it. It's loud. There's a lot of people there. Holloway Gym is a really tough place to play in West Lafayette. Like, the fans are just right on top of you as you're starting to serve, and they affect the match in a way that I don't think Nebraska's crowd really has learned to do yet. But just Nebraska goes in and has now swept 7 straight matches. Like, it doesn't seem like things are phasing this team.
No, yeah, they create their own adversity too. I know some of them went to a concert up in Omaha on Thursday night. Tate McRae, they were there. They went out, didn't get exactly permission to do that, but hey, they came back and bounced back against Washington and were locked in and got the job done. And yeah, it seemed, but also I think everywhere they go, I mean, I was surprised by the number of red. I saw a couple of videos of fans lining up outside Holloway, how much red there was there. There was a lot more in Penn State. Rutgers was essentially a home match. So yes, it is a way, but I mean, whatever gets thrown at Nebraska team, I agree with you that this team is built for adversity. I mean, they have enough experience. They do have a lot of newcomers, but they have the core leadership that really has been through battles and knows how to handle it.
Do we want to get to this question from Tony from the I-80 Club Discord? Tony put this in the Volleyball State channel before the show started, so we wanted to get to it. So, Tony, thanks so much for writing in. Tony asks if this is a test run for when the Huskers play with Wisconsin, who also has a pin-heavy offense with kind of one-star hitter. I think it sure couldn't hurt, Tony, and I think Purdue actually might be. I don't have Wisconsin's numbers in front of me, but we know Mimi Collier gets a ton of swings. Purdue at least gives Haney quite a few swings as well. One thing I noticed about Purdue, and I think this is just kind of how they are, they don't set their middles a lot, which it feels like Purdue always has a really good middle. Maybe they just show up more on the defensive end, but like everything for Purdue was pin heavy today. And Taylor Anderson's a pretty good setter, if I recall. Like, she's been around a while. And it just surprises me they don't go middle very, very much. Like, maybe they're going to ride or die with Heaney and Woolard. But yeah, I mean, Wisconsin, I think, can mix it up a little bit more. But when you throw in, and we'll talk about this a little more in depth later, with Charlie Fearbringer being hurt, you bring in a new setter off the bench, and they're going to run to the safety blanket, right? They're going to go to the left, when in doubt, let's go left to Mimi Collier. And Collier really struggled, I think, against Penn State this week.
Yeah, go back to Purdue a little bit too. I mean, yeah, that's why it was weird against Nebraska that she had 4 kills. I think all of the one set against Nebraska. I was like, Purdue discovered this new wrinkle of their offense to run the middles. But yeah, I agree that, I mean, we'll see if Purdue's kind of been a little bit upstart of how they kind of stack up when they play Wisconsin. So I think, I mean, Nebraska has built to handle studs. I mean, they faced Olivia Babcock. They faced Martin is also, I mean, they're both opposites, but they're stars that carry their teams. And I mean, Woolard has been very, very good as well too. So it just proves that you can't beat Nebraska with one stud. It needs to be a team effort to get Nebraska out of their comfort zone.
Well, just judging by the numbers, if I'm getting these positions right, because Cash Anderson is also an outside hitter for Purdue. Between Woolard, Anderson, and Grace Heaney, who's the opposite, they had 81 of Purdue's 97 swings. And if you take out the 3 that Anderson, the setter, had, it looks like that Purdue's middles only got 12 swings in the entire match.
5 kills. I mean, it's okay, but
five kills on 12 swings. Decent percentage, but like you need to be able to mix up your offense a little bit.
Andy Jackson got 20 alone today.
If you're gonna play Nebraska, and Nebraska forces their middles, in my opinion, maybe even a little to the detriment of the middles. They try to force them in some areas where they don't have an ideal scoring situation, and that's when Nebraska's middles get a little high error. And I think we saw that from Rebecca Alec a little bit today. But let's get into really the only set where there was drama in this one, Lincoln, was in game 1. And in game 1, I remember tweeting at the end of this, like, oh man, this is going to be a dogfight, right? Nebraska holds on to win at 25-23. Purdue was up early. It was nip and tuck throughout until we get to 22-22. Alec, I know, hit long on a tough set to her. But then Harper Murray comes back with, I believe it was a back row kill, because she was in the back row those last couple rotations of game 1. Bergen Riley does to Purdue what a lot of Nebraska opponents have been doing to the Huskers this year, which is sneaking an ace just inside the back line. It was her best serve of the day to make it 24-22. And then, is Heaney's from Elkhorn North? Is that right? So an in-state talent, Grace Heaney, gets a kill for Purdue to make it 24-23. And then, this was kind of the rally of the early part of the match. Nebraska and Purdue just couldn't put balls away, and everyone was digging everything, and there was a lot of tipping. I think Nebraska sent the ball to 4 different players trying to get a kill until Bergen Riley was finally like, okay, we're going to Harper in the back row, and she blasts it off of a Purdue blocker's hand and over to the scorer's table to end it 25-23.
Yeah, that was the big. I mean, you need a kill. Who are you going to go to? Harper Murray. I think
we tried everything else, and it didn't work.
Yeah, but let's just go back to the base system and run that. I think the other key stretch was, Harper Murray was great. She had 8 kills on 11 swings during this set. But Andy Jackson really kind of saved Nebraska. They were down. They were down 18-19, and she scored 4 points for Nebraska in a row. She had 3 kills and then an ace. And the ace is one that gave Nebraska that brief lead at 22-21 before Purdue tied it up. But I think, you don't see a middle blocker that is getting that consistent of sets and is terminating 3. It wasn't 3 points in a row too, but she had 3 terminations for Nebraska during that stretch.
Absolutely. Andy Jackson, absolutely great today, creeping up toward 400 hitting percentage on the season. And then from there, Lincoln, Nebraska just kind of has things in control. Game 2, Nebraska out-hits Purdue 333-069 after 8 kills in game 1. Kenna Woolard just 2 kills in game 2, and it was tied at 10. Nebraska wins 6 of the next 8 rallies to go up 16-12. Andy Jackson gets a couple kills in there. And Nebraska's never really challenged for the rest of that set. And that's also when the transition happened where they took out Virginia Adriano and Ali Chet came in and got a kill right away.
Yeah. Nebraska was up 19-16 and then scored the last 6 points, and Chet came in during the middle of that run too. And we mentioned Woolard only had 2 kills. Both of those came early in the set. Her second kill put Purdue up 4-3, and then she was shut out the rest of the way too. So you look about Nebraska adjusting to what Purdue was doing, and it really kind of clicked early in this. And, to me, the one difference, you mentioned that 6-2 run, but there were out of Nebraska's 6 rotations, they had 6 rotations in kind of the middle after Purdue was up 8-7. Nebraska went through all 6 rotations. They scored a point on their serve during 5 of those. So it wasn't just one rotation. They never scored 2 points on a serve, but they kind of just chipped away, and just every time they went back to serve, they would get 1 point, and that builds up, or it goes from Purdue up 8-7 to all of a sudden they're down 18-13.
Yeah. Nebraska really can put pressure on you in a lot of rotations, and it'll be interesting to see sort of what the hitting percentages by rotation are once the numbers come in tomorrow. But like, Nebraska's not poor in any of their rotations. They have rotations that are stronger, but none of them are like terrible. In game 3, it was Olivia Malk who went back to the service line right away, got Nebraska out to a 3-0 start, served an ace. Nebraska makes it 7-1 when Harper Murray has her back to, 8-1.
8-1. They called timeout 7-1.
Yeah.
They got one back for that. So you add that end of the second game. That's a 14-1 run.
Absolutely. And then, it's really that you're in the boa constrictors clutches at that point. Purdue never got closer than 5 points in game 3 after that. Huskers hit 412 in the finale. Purdue just 167. And Ali Check was getting some kills. They let Terea Sigler play in the front row, like they were mopping up against Maryland by the end of it. And I also want to point out, this was a really good serving weekend. And I'm the first one to say, like, you can't just judge serving by aces and errors. But Nebraska, when you have more aces than service errors, that's always great. Usually it's the other way around. 11 aces, 7 errors from the service line for Nebraska over the 2 matches this weekend.
Yeah, and I think you saw that kind of breakdown as Purdue's offense got. I mean, it's pin heavy anyways too, but they just couldn't handle Nebraska. They were running a lot of out of system stuff. So, we mentioned Harper Murray had a couple aces. Olivia Mauk had a couple aces as well too. I think Bergen had the key one into that first set. And who also had one? Andy Jackson. Jackson. Yes.
Well, and I think Nebraska's passing got better as the match went on too. Because I remember thinking in game 1, oh man, Purdue's kind of got Nebraska figured out where they're yo-yoing them. They're serving short, then they're going deep. They're serving hard down the lines. All these Nebraska passers are having to dive in to keep the ball off the floor. And they found a way to survive kind of Purdue's big punch in game 1. And then everything just sort of steadied out in game 2 and 3.
Julia Kane had both of Purdue's aces. She had the one to start the second set. It was on the second point that it was the most the lollipop one. It looked like it barely cleared the net too. And it was like a change up almost. And Nebraska
like an Ephus pitch serve.
Yeah. An Ephus. That's a great comparison. It was so slow that Nebraska's like, what is this? And they just were completely caught off guard. But that was a strange serve and kind of more of an anomaly than anything else. But it was Nebraska, I think, won the serve and receive battle, and that really allowed them to do what they want to do on offense, which is run the middle and stay in system. Yeah,
Matt says in the ID Club Discord, it was kind of a ho-hum sweep of a top 15 team on the road, and I would agree with that, Matt. This is, I think, what Nebraska can do to you when they're firing. I won't even say firing on all cylinders. They had 2 really good cylinders that were firing really heavy. And I also want to credit, Bergen Riley in this match too.
Yeah.
She was a good server. She was a really good back row defender. I think she had 10 digs in this match, which was only behind Mauk. And she did keep force in the middle. Even, there's some times where it wasn't working with Alec, and Jackson sent a couple slides wide. She kept going back to them. She kept setting all the pins, like, just because they were struggling on the right in game 1, she kept going back to it when Chet came in too. So, I think Riley's really confident in a lot of her hitters. And I heard Bus Boom Kelly say afterwards, like, she's really confident in practice as well. And so this is another outstanding match for Nebraska's junior setter.
And Bergen was so confident that she even tried Andy Jackson on a D ball, which Andy got maybe a little too excited about it and hit straight into the net. But hey, we got it. I get excited every time Andy Jackson served. Like, I want a D ball out of her. I still remember what we saw this spring, and that was a thing of beauty. And it's so exciting to see when she gets a hold of one from back there.
It's that rotation 6 try. And at least as of the last time I put these numbers together, rotation 6 was Nebraska's second best offensive rotation. And part of that has to do with Andy Jackson being a pretty darn good server. Yeah. Anything else you want to add on the Purdue match? We spent a lot of time in rotation 1.
Yep, let's go back in time. Rotation 2, talk about Nebraska's sweep against Washington. You want to talk about a ho-hum match? This was a ho-hum match of a evening as well. Nebraska ends up sweeping Washington 14, 18, 16. They were never really seriously threatened. And I mean, I feel like I haven't looked back at all my notes.
And Washington didn't play bad. Like,
no,
Nebraska and Washington wasn't terrible.
Yeah, there's no long scoring streak. Like, Nebraska ran off a 6-0 scoring run. It kind of got a few points here.
Washington, in my memory, won a lot of the long rallies. Like, they kept balls alive, and they were putting balls away on long rallies. And then on Sunday, they go over to Oregon and they sweep the Ducks, so they get a really quality win on the road. Like, this is a pretty decent Washington team that Nebraska kind of boat raced on Friday.
Yeah, I think they're firmly part of the very soft middle of the conference too. I have no idea what to expect from, like, whatever team number 6 or 7 down to team number 13 or 14. So, Washington improved there too. But again, we mentioned this kind of with our stat before. Spoiler alert: Nebraska hits 307, another match over 300. Harper Murray, very efficient, 12 kills, hit 407. Jackson also had a great match. I did look up; she's at 397 for the season, so back up to where she likes to be. But she was 562 against Washington. Adriano had a good match, 9 kills, a little high air probably. She had 5 hitting errors, and then Landfair and Alec both had 7 kills. Alec added 8 blocks. She was an 8 of Nebraska's 10 stuff.
Let's talk about Adriano for just a second. I thought Danny Busboom Kelly said something really interesting in the post-match radio interview when they were talking about, Czech coming in, and they said, they could tell pretty early that Adriano, it was not going to be her day, and maybe they could even tell before the match. And I would love to know a little bit more about what exactly that means, like what they saw from her. But this is a player that does seem like struggles with confidence sometimes. If she does not put away a couple balls early, then it can kind of snowball. And she served the ball in the middle of the net on Sunday against Purdue. They're going to need her in some of these big matches. She had a really good match against Penn State, but it's like she needs to succeed early, because it's not like she's been able to kind of pull herself out of it, except for a couple matches. I know the Creighton match, she came on strong in game 3. But she needs to start fast, it seems like.
Yeah. I'm also willing to give her some grace. She had a long, lengthy Instagram post, which I read the English translation of. Like, I believe this weekend was the anniversary of her father's passing. So I know she's a very emotional, she put out that long post about that and just what her father means to her. Very touching. I recommend go reading that. But so I think that may be what Danny was maybe alluding to, of maybe she was not in the proper headspace this weekend.
Sure.
So if this continues next weekend, then I think maybe that's a little more cause for concern. But I'm not going to hold her performances this weekend, given everything else going on in her personal life. So,
well, and we've seen what a ceiling might look like with Virginia Adriano, and it's very, very high. Like, she is incredibly talented. Just kind of a rough weekend for her. Also against Washington, Taylor Landfair and Rebecca Alec each had 7 kills, so it was a really balanced match. Nebraska had 5 players between 7 and 12 kills. That's a Bergen Riley special right there. Plus, it was a really good serving night on Friday too. 6 aces, just 1 error. I can't remember the last Nebraska team that had a service performance like that.
Yeah, and that's only the second time this entire season they've had more aces than errors. So you have to, and that was like I think the other time it was like a 7-6 or 6-5. They just had 1 more ace than error. So
it was close. Against Cal, they had 6 aces and 5 errors.
Yeah, so it was a performance that Nebraska again set the tone from them. That's part of that, just chipping away, adding a point here, a point there, they're leading. All of a sudden, we won the set by.
Well, 10. Danny talks a lot about 3-point runs, right? That if you can get a 3-point run or 2, that's a really good sign for you in a set, because Nebraska usually doesn't give up long runs themselves, and if they go 2 for 1 or 3 for 1 a couple times, like sooner or later that's a 5 or 6 point lead, and it's really hard to catch Nebraska.
Yeah, and then there was only 2 ties in this entire match. It was 1-1 in the first, and then 3-3 in the second. Nebraska led the rest of the time. So Nebraska really wasn't threatened that much too. So Washington only hit 147. Kirsten Barton had 9 kills, but also 8 errors. So
8 kills on 38 swings is not a super efficient performance. That's like a 22% kill percentage, which is not great. Like, you want your outside hitters to be up at least 40% on kill percentages. And so Nebraska really held Washington's biggest weapon in check.
Yeah, in the middles were a non-factor too. Julia Hunt, who was an all Big Ten player last year, I think she on the all freshman team, only had 4 kills on 9 swings, and then Katie Wessels had 5 kills on 10 swings. So I think there was a lot of jousts that they were involved in, but they were not a key part of Washington's offensive attack.
For those of you listeners who love when we talk about passing, buckle up. This is one of Nebraska's better passing matches of the year. Huskers passed a 2.42 out of 3 with a 69% good pass percentage, which nice. Both of those messages, both of those categories were the second highest Nebraska's had on the year, and they were very close to the top one. Nebraska passed 70% good pass against Penn State last weekend, which still kind of blows me away. But Lainey Choboy, really good, passed a 2.5. Terea Sigler, almost a 2.5. She's at a 2.46, and both of them got served 14 times. So you could tell both Washington and Purdue, their service strategy was, we're going to go after Choboy and Sigler, the freshman, and both of them held up really well.
Yeah, and that's very key because, again, they both got about a third of Nebraska's receptions. I mean, yeah, Choboy had a third, Sigler had a third, then everyone else combined for a third too. So if those two are passing well, that's going to generally mean good things for what Nebraska's overall statistics are and also what their offense is doing.
A couple other things that I wrote down on Friday after the match, and it continued on Sunday. Huskers have been blocking really well lately. They've now outblocked 5 straight opponents. And there was a time earlier in the year where we're like, the blocking just does not seem as good as you would hope it to be. And now they're up at 3.4 or so blocks per set, right about there, over their last 5 matches. So the blocking has really picked up for the Huskers in the last 2 weeks. And what was it today against Purdue? They outblocked Purdue 7-5. So 7 blocks in 3 sets, not a ton, but not nothing.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to keep an eye on as well too. I mean, Nebraska was last in the Big Ten in aces. They were under or right at one per set too, right there at 1.11. So it's not. They're still not dominating from the service line, but they're
and they're not gonna, because that's not what the players they have are. They're serving strategically and they're trying to get you out of system, but they're not really trying to ace you.
Yep.
Friday night when they beat Washington, that was Nebraska's 53rd straight home win. And I think you can play with the numbers a little bit. Not all of those were in John Cook Arena. I think they count the PBA matches in there too.
I don't think because those were neutral matches according, because ABCA was the official host. So they don't count. I don't know if they count Memorial Stadium, but those should be all match. John
53 straight home wins, and I feel like we never talk about this. Yeah. Maybe that's just what the expectation is for Nebraska to win at home. They haven't lost at home. Gosh, what's that? 2022? Did they lose against Minnesota? Was that their last home loss? I should have written this down.
It was the end of the year. They lost to Minnesota. Yeah, I believe it was a trivia, right? Wasn't that the?
Yeah, that was back when we did our live show. It was the trivia question that Keith Miles got right.
Wisconsin and then Minnesota back to back to end that regular season.
So, I mean, it's still well short of the school record. Nebraska won 88 straight home matches, and I think it might have even been up to 90 if you count a couple Devaney Center matches back then, from 2004 to 2009. So that was the Pavin, Jordan Larson, Rachel Holloway, Tracy Stahl's years when nobody was touching them in the Devaney Center.
Playing some weak Big 12 teams.
What?
Yeah, and they're playing some weak Big 12 teams.
Yeah. They're playing like Oklahoma and Iowa State on Wednesday nights. But so the school record is 88 straight home wins for Nebraska. That's another year and a half of consecutive home wins to make it up there, but still really impressive. It is the nation's longest home winning streak.
Yeah. It's Nebraska defend the home court, and I mean, I'm trying to think of any home matches that may threaten that as well too. Penn State's the big one, I think, to end the regular season.
Somebody will give them a run for their money. I'm reading all this stuff online about oh my gosh, pencil Nebraska into the Final Four. Let's not be premature. Nebraska looks really, really good. They can, everyone has an off night during the season. Texas is fighting for their life against Alabama on Sunday, and it's going to happen at some point.
Yeah, we'll see. But I think, looking at the schedule, Northwestern, Michigan State, Oregon, Illinois, Iowa, Ohio State.
Is Iowa the Kansas of the Big Ten? They're just going 5 with lots of teams. They're not winning these matches, but they went 5 twice this weekend.
Illinois, I think, is going to be better. But speaking of Illinois, let's move on to rotation 3 and talk about the Big Ten. We've kind of alluded to this too. And if you're waiting around for that Nebraska-Washington match on Friday, maybe you had the Big Ten Network on and you were worried, oh no, are we going to be able to watch the start of that match on time? Yes, the answer is yes, because Penn State completely dominated and made Wisconsin look average, I think, if that's we said, or more so Kenny Martin decided, I'm going to win this match and achieve that. So Penn State ended up sweeping Wisconsin 25, 20, 20, 21, 16. So Kennedy Martin had 23 kills, hit 474, and really besides her, it was a pretty even match, I thought.
Yeah. Well, and I think this is Wisconsin's second match since Charlie Fairbringer got hurt. They won their first one, I believe.
She got her early in that match, and Horner finished off that. So,
but yeah, Wisconsin had to go into Penn State, who looked like a very different team than what we saw against Nebraska on Friday. They did get some help for Kennedy Martin. Maggie Mendelman, former Husker, had 10 kills. Penn State hit 296, which is pretty darn good as a team. And Wisconsin only hit 151. Wisconsin was, I believe, the nation's leader in attack percentage as of last weekend. And Mimi Collier really struggled. 8 kills, 6 errors, hit 057. They had freshman Madison Quest, who led Wisconsin with 10 kills. But I think you're going to see Wisconsin come back to earth a little bit now with Fairbringer being out for a little bit. And we don't know, I think, how long she's going to be out. It's supposed to be maybe a couple weeks, Kelly Sheffield has sort of alluded to. And that sort of opens the door for Nebraska to take firm control of the Big Ten race. Maybe she'll be back by that Halloween match that Nebraska has to play in Madison. But with the way the middle of the Big Ten is, Nebraska's still going to have some tough challenges ahead of them. But this win over Purdue, beating them on the road, that cleared a really hard hurdle, or what we expected to be a hard hurdle. And Nebraska just kind of has their hands on the steering wheel in the Big Ten race now.
For sure. And if you listen to John Bailey's pregame show on Friday, he mentioned that he has a source that said it probably is going to be weeks, and it on the severe end could be season ending for Charlie Fairbringer. So we'll see what that is. So both teams were playing backup sets named Addie, and you saw Madison Quest led Wisconsin, and Kenny Martin's going to lead Penn State, but their outside hitters, the left pin hitters, really were pretty much a wash, or not very effective at all. I mean, Wisconsin, their 2 pin hitters combined for 15 kills, 12 errors on 56 attacks, and then Penn State's left pin hitters were complete non-factor. I mean, Kenny Martin's going to take a lot of that, but they had 8 kills on 8 errors on 28 swings too. So, and
that's Emmy Selman, that's Jurevicius, and that's Alexis Ewing.
I don't think Ewing played at all during that. It was just Jurevicius got the start again, and her and Selman were both non-factors.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some hard conversations just on the Penn State staff, maybe just amongst themselves, on how did we get this so wrong with our left sides? Because for any team that hopes to contend for a postseason run, you can't get nothing out of your left sides. They can't just hit 0. And Penn State has such a weapon on the right in Kennedy Martin that even if their left sides played the opposing team's left sides to a draw, you're winning those matches. And they don't have it there this year. And they were so excited about those players going into the season, I know, especially Selman, and it just hasn't worked.
Yeah. And Jurevicius is playing out of position. She's a right side that needs to get back there, and unfortunately will not until she gets rid of having outside or opposites from Florida transfer in above her.
UCLA picks up a sweep at number 14 Minnesota, who has their own injury problems. UCLA's had a nice couple of weekends. They sweep Minnesota in Minneapolis 25-18, 25-22, 25-22. A really good left side. Sheridan Leverett finished with 15 kills for UCLA, who swept despite only hitting 223. So the Bruins must be doing it with defense. And Maggie Lee and Mariana Singletary also added 6 kills. UCLA outblocks Minnesota 12-4 and holds the Gophers to 0-81. Keegan Cook had some problems up in Minneapolis with those injuries.
Yeah, they officially, we kind of hinted at this last week's episode. We got official word that Alex Acevedo, who is an outside hitter and is now the second outside hitter for the Gophers to be ruled out after McKenna Wooker started the season with some back injuries and decided she's going to take a redshirt year to get fully healthy. But I was looking at their roster. They only have, they got 2 middle blockers. They got 2 outsides left. They got 2 or 3 opposites. And it's just, they're doing that. The funny part about UCLA is that they had some big wins. They beat Penn State, then they lose to Purdue and Indiana. Then they come back and beat Minnesota team, which is struggling a bit as well too, as they have to keep adapting to losing players. So
UCLA dropped at matches last weekend. I'm sorry, I said they had a good couple weekends. I must have been thinking about one before that, but that's a big win for UCLA to go into Minnesota. And then didn't Minnesota win on Sunday? I'm sorry for springing this on us.
Yes, They did. They did. I'm trying to remember who they played. I'm looking it up very quickly as we fill for time.
It wasn't Indiana. But yeah, Minnesota did bounce
Ohio
back.
State, which is the dregs.
Okay.
And so, yes.
Of course they did. Michigan State, who Nebraska is going to see coming up on Friday night, gets kind of the upset of the Big Ten weekend. They beat Indiana in straight sets. Indiana, who had come into the rankings at number 20 and had a really strong record this year. Michigan State beats them 25-21, 25-19, 25-18. That's Indiana's first Big Ten loss. And we're going to talk about the Spartans a little bit more in depth in rotation 5, but Kristen Kelsey's got a really good team this year.
Yeah, I mean, they really did it with balance too. I mean, they did it with defenses too. I mean, they had 256, again, kind of a low hitting percentage, especially for a sweep. And their leading attacker only had 8 kills. Biana Mumkoller, she led it, but I think this was more about their defense because Indiana, they had 28 hitting errors and hit 067 for the match, and they were negative in the third set. So it was really a sloppy match for the Hoosiers.
Atypical for Indiana, who was hitting well over 300 coming into this match. I think it was Wisconsin, Nebraska, and Indiana who were sort of the top leaders of attack percentage in the Big Ten. And now I think Michigan's jumped over Indiana there.
Yeah, I was trying to think. I mean, I wanted to look at how many blocks that Michigan had because, I mean, they only had 9 blocks. So out of all of those hitting errors, too, it was a lot of unforced, which, I mean, Michigan State did have 28 digs. They're out dug. So it was just Indiana's playing fast and loose and hitting balls out.
Yep. When you go fast, sometimes it can snowball on you as well. And your hitters, if they're not disciplined, can just sort of spray balls all over the court.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to, I mean, you kind of brought this up when we were talking about the Penn State Wisconsin match too. But I mean, is this opened up for Nebraska? I mean, Nebraska, they've proven that they have been able to fight through adversity and like this stuff too. And is it surprising that people are pointing like this is Nebraska's race to lose this early in the conference season?
And maybe if by people you mean me, because I'm the one who said that. I'm not surprised because I think the expectations on Nebraska are so high right now. Like people are, and fans of other teams, right? They're talking about like, well, how many sets is Nebraska going to lose in the Big Ten this year? Is it going to be more than 3? Like, Nebraska's really good. They're not like 2008 Penn State good with like All-American at every single position. But yeah, like Nebraska's really good. And it's sort of widely perceived that this is a down year in the Big Ten. And 2 of Nebraska's road tests, they smoked the opposition. They win in 3 at Penn State. They win at 3 at Purdue. And so your toughest road match left, at least on paper, is Wisconsin on Halloween. And they might not be playing with their starting setter. Now, I still think Nebraska is going to have to gut it out when they go out to LA in November, where they have to play at UCLA and at USC. But no, I'm not surprised, I guess, because like Nebraska is by far and away, the favorite to win the Big Ten now. Yeah,
I think it's. You mentioned the Big Ten being down this year too, and I think I think it's been down even since the beginning of the season because of injuries. There are some teams that are some up and comers like Indiana. I think that'll be a tough road match for Nebraska as well too. They pack Wilkinson Hall. UCLA and USC should not be tough road environments because those should be essentially.
Oh, those are going to be Nebraska home games, but you got to get on a plane and go a long way and still have to show up to play. I mean, I was trying to think about this after the Purdue match. Like, what is the type of team that beats Nebraska? And I think it could be a team that does it like Michigan State, which is really balanced. And if they get 3 hitters kind of all going at the same time, you could beat Nebraska. Or like, anything else, you have 1 hitter who becomes unstoppable, right? Like, the nightmare scenario, I think, for Nebraska today would have been, or on Sunday would have been, if Kenna Woolard had one of those 32 kills on 56 swings matches, and she didn't. But like any team who's maybe got a Sheridan Leverett or I don't know who, like Indiana's best pin hitter is Alonso Corcelius. If they go off for 28 kills, maybe that's how you do it. But like Nebraska just is so good defensively and so balanced offensively, it's hard to see that happening until you maybe get into the later rounds of the tournament. Yeah.
And I think you got to look outside the Big Ten. I mean, the Big Ten is solid, but I don't think that they're I mean, we'll see what the RPI maybe disagrees, but I think that they don't have the elite teams. They may have teams that make the tournament, but I think there's very few of the teams right now as they're constructed and as they're playing that could be a Final Four contender besides Nebraska. So, yeah. All right. Anything else about the Big Ten? Let's move on. Having technical difficulties right now, and I don't even know if you can hear me. And Jeff, we lost Jeff Sheldon. Oh no, he's gone off that, so I apologize, but we've lost Jeff. He has been kicked out. If you're watching us live, hopefully he will rejoin us quickly. But anyway, while we're waiting for Jeff to rejoin, I'm going to move on to rotation 4. We're going to do some national recap here. We're going to start in the SEC. One of the big matches of the week was Texas versus number 2 Texas versus number 17 Tennessee. Big matchup. I mean, Tennessee's they've only had one loss entering this and hadn't lost since the beginning part of September or late August. But Texas ends up surviving in 5 sets. Torrey Stafford ended up having 30 kills, 64 swings. Kari Spears had 14 kills. But Tennessee really gave them all they could handle. It was they ended up winning the 4th set. Really, it was Hayden Kubik. She kind of led the charge for the Lady Vols. She had 15 kills and had 7 of those in game 1, but only then 4 kind of over the final 4 sets too. So a little more help from her teammates, but really couldn't sustain that as well too. I mean, and Tennessee also had a chance to really take control of the match from the get-go. They were up 22-20 in the 1st set before Texas ended up on a 5-0 run. And then Texas took over and dominated the 5th set. They were up 5-0 in that 5th set and were never really threatened there. So yeah, it was an opportunity for Texas to really kind of manhandle them, and in Tennessee couldn't get it done. And Texas did. So Texas also, Jeff kind of mentioned this earlier too, they scuffled a little bit with Alabama. They dropped one of the 1st sets, and the 3rd set was actually tied 23-23. Texas ended up pulling that out and then ended up winning that match 3-1 too. So let's move on to other matches. The SEC, Kentucky, who's ranked number 3, they got a revert. They got everything they wanted from Texas A&M, but they ended up beating them in 4 sets. They thought that was going to go to a lot more extra points too, but Kentucky had a late challenge that Texas A&M was in the net. Ended up closing out that. It was a 4th set, 27-25, and Kentucky ends up winning over number 9 Texas A&M there. Eva Hudson ended up finishing with 24 kills. She had 373 for the Wildcats, had 11 digs. Brooklyn DeLay, her running mate on the left pin, had 19 kills. And Lizzie Carr, middle blocker, former Purdue Boilermaker, one of the people that left them, she had 11 kills. Cassie O'Brien, their setter, she had 48 assists, 12 digs, and their Molly Tizuo had 19 digs. Logan Legnicki digged what she did for the Aggies and had 21 kills, 14 digs. Kendall Stowers had 13 kills, 10 digs. So Jeff Sheldon has rejoined.
Hey, how long? I was gone for a little while. Did we lose you too, or was it only me?
No, I thought it was me, because usually we have internet problems. It's me, and all of a sudden you went frozen. I'm like, oh no, did I lose that?
I think my guess is one of my terrorist children did something to the wireless in my house, and so I'm sorry, y'all. That was weird. That has never happened before. And thanks, Lincoln, for jumping in and saving us there. Where are we?
We are still talking about the SEC. I'm talking about one more game left there. Florida ended up winning 3 deuce games against number 25 Missouri. So Florida Gators, another team that's difficult to figure out. They're up and down too, but they ended up winning in 4 sets. The 3 games they all won were all 2-pointers. Again, Jordan Bird led 4 Gators with double-digit kills, 19. Alexis Stuckey, 56 assists, 22 digs, big double-double for her. And then Caitlin Alexander, led Mizzou with 24 kills. She hit 333. So, Jeff, you're back. You want to talk about the ACC? This is
Yeah, absolutely. Also, I want to bring Tony's or Anthony's comment up on the screen too. I didn't see this in time, Anthony. Sorry about that. But even if the Big Ten's down a little bit, the Purdue team that Nebraska beat today beat Tennessee, which took Texas to 5 a couple days ago. We could play the transitive game all day, but yeah, I think we do want to give credit to Purdue. That's a good Purdue team, and they're going to win a lot of matches this year. And they didn't play poorly on Sunday. Nebraska just kind of took it out of their hands. I looked at this match, Lincoln, to start off the ACC recap, and it's one of those matches I couldn't really figure out how exactly it happened. Number 18, Miami, pulls off the reverse sweep against number 4, Pitt. The Pitt takes the first 2 sets, 26-24, 25-14, but then Miami roars back, 25-22, 25-19, and gets a deuce game win in the 5th, 15-13, winning it on a missed serve, and Pitt misses plenty of those. This is sort of when I said Nebraska needs a player to go off against them in order to lose. Well, this is how Pitt lost, because Flomari, Heredia, Cologne had 38 kills and 11 digs for Miami. She had 342. The rest of the team only combined for 20 kills. But she outdueled Olivia Babcock. Olivia Babcock had 30 kills for Pittsburgh, and Pitt still lost. So Flomari, Heredia, Cologne, right? This was the player who transferred to Florida in the offseason, and then after the spring came back to Miami.
Well, you also forgot she transferred from Florida, and then once that kind of coaching changed, she committed to Kansas for a hot minute, and then withdrew that, and then ended up back at Florida or back at Miami, where it all started, where she played last. Nebraska fans saw her play in the tournament last year too. She's an electric player, high air at times, but very electric. To put it down.
Absolutely. Also in the ACC, then Miami couldn't make a weekend out of it. Number 10, SMU, then takes down the Hurricanes in 4 sets, 25-12, 21-25, 25-14, 25-21. Malaya Jones and Jaden Livings each had 12 kills for SMU, which hit 340 for the match. Kennedy Rogers, 9 kills and hit 571. Heredia Cologne, another good match, 19 kills for Miami, but also 14 errors. This is sort of a very hot or cold player. That tells me she's not chipping, right? Like she's not roll shotting. You don't roll shot your way out of South Florida, I guess. She doesn't get cheated with her swings, but a pretty good weekend for Miami, regardless of the loss to number 10 SMU.
Yeah. So that's kind of the highlight matches of that. I mean, Louisville did what Louisville did. They beat the opponents they should beat. And Pitt bounced back and beat Florida State on Sunday. So, but really Miami was kind of the centerpiece because we didn't know how good they were going to be, but they took care of business.
Yeah, they're like 15-2. That's a good team they've got this year.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll go on to the Big 12, which the Big 12 has a lot of random matches that are just unexplainable as well too. I got one on here. I mean, kind of the highlight to me was Arizona State sweeping Baylor. It was also very close of another 3 deuce games of Baylor scored 25, 24, 25, and 23 and won 0 sets. Arizona State hit 311, 15 kills from Naomi Glover. They got that. But then Baylor turns around. I don't know how this is notes, but Baylor got swept by Arizona of all teams on Friday night. So it was just a weird weekend for the Bears that they put up a really good fight against Arizona State, but then turn around and struggle against Arizona. They're a decent.
Arizona's not bad. They have some good players on that team.
Baylor only hit 155 for the match too, and Arizona hit 148. And Jordan Wilson had 19 kills. Nebraska fans saw what she's capable of when she played at the John Cook Arena. So it's just a weird match that it was a strange weekend for the Bears too. And with the second set and that match ended up going 32-30. So again, Baylor's putting up a lot of points, but not winning many sets this weekend too. And I mean, also, Arizona State also beat Colorado. Colorado ended up losing one of their matches too. But the Big Ten, they got a lot of teams. I mean, Arizona State, I think, has separated themselves a little bit from that. Kansas, they would stop playing 5-setters. We'll see how they're a decent team as well.
So this takes us to our Omaha Supernovas Shining Star of the Week. I'm going to pick mine. The aforementioned Flomari Heredia Colon from Miami. Anytime you put up 38 kills and you reach the 40-point club in a match, you're in contention for our Player of the Week. She outdueled Olivia Babcock. Again, Babcock had 30 kills and hit 519, and their team still lost. Against Nebraska. In the second round of the NCAA tournament, remember, Nebraska played Miami last year. Cologne had 14 kills and 11 errors on 39 swings. So feast or famine for Flomari, and she feasted real good on Friday in that win over Pitt.
Yeah. I'm going with mine will be the also aforementioned. I'm going Harper Murray. We won't pick many local teams, but Harper Murray, I think, had one of the best matches. Maybe she'll get her first ever Big Ten Player of the Week award. We'll see. I don't know.
Who else is getting it, unless you want to give it to Kenny Martin again?
Ella DeBoer had some good matches against Maryland and Rutgers. Who knows? But Harper Murray, as we've talked about her enough, but she's my pick for the week. So that's our Supernovas Shining Star of the Week. So with legendary coach John Cook now serving as general manager, plus former Husker star Merritt Beeson, as well as Brooke Nunaviller on the roster, this is a season that you do not want to miss. So come be part of the best atmosphere in all of professional volleyball. The Supernovas have 14 thrilling home matches at the CHI Health Center. So cheer on the Supernovas as they chase another championship in the Major League Volleyball. So don't wait. Grab your season tickets today at supernovas.com.
Moving right along into rotation 5, we're going to spend our last 2 rotations previewing Nebraska's upcoming matches this weekend. I don't think this is a trap match. I think they're going to have Nebraska's full attention, but this is another match to keep an eye on. Friday night, 6 p.m. on Big Ten Plus, because of Friday night football at the Breslin Center. So inside the big arena, Nebraska is going to play Michigan State, who could be ranked, I don't know, by the time this matchup actually happens on Friday. The Spartans 14-2 and 4-2 in the Big Ten under first-year head coach Kristen Kelsey, who is a former Spartan setter. Michigan State got it done defensively on Sunday. They held Indiana to 0-67 to hand Indiana their first Big Ten loss. Michigan State's really balanced, and part of that is a credit to a Nebraska native who's running the Spartans offense. Lincoln Southwest alum Malaya Long is Michigan State's setter. It's her first year in East Lansing. She actually started her college career last year at Marquette, where she redshirted before she transferred to Michigan State. And Lincoln, you can see by the numbers we have here, Michigan State very, very balanced.
Yes, thanks for handing that to me. 5 starters, average 1.8.
Oh, do you want me to take Stanishevska? Are you mad about that?
No, I'm glad how you set that up. I appreciate that. Yeah, but they have 5 starters that average 1.8 and 2.8 kills per set too, led by the aforementioned Carolina Stanishevska, I believe. Yeah, Shevska. Is that Polish name? Or
it is Polish. It is the most Polish name this side of Krzyzewski.
Yes, she has 2.85, so she's on the high end of that. And really, Michigan State has a very bad. They're averaging 13.6 kills per set too, so they're earning a lot of their points. And this is kind of, I think this is a credit to what Kristen Kelsey has been able to do. She inherited a roster that was really gutted by the transfer portal and didn't have much talent on it. But so it was left for her. But so she kind of pulled some Europeans, pulled some transfers, and also the people that are left over, Dozema, Taylor Hold'em, I think is
Taylor Hold'em is, I don't know if she's battling an injury this year, but she's not really playing in the front row, and she had a really good freshman year. Yeah. And I believe she's either from Australia or New Zealand. Yep. Forgive me.
She's
a Kiwi. Okay, so she's from New Zealand, and she's playing, but she's not swinging. So maybe they've got her as the DS. But Michigan State, 3rd in the Big Ten in opponent hitting percentage, allowing opponents to only hit 175. This is going to be a challenge for Nebraska on Friday.
Yeah, they're very good defensively, like we've mentioned. Opponents are only hitting 175, which I don't know if that includes the Indiana stat in there in that figure yet. But if it doesn't, that number is going to drop. So again, and I think Kristen Kelsey, I think she's a rising star in the collegiate ranks as well too. She was the associate head coach at Minnesota. She also spent a year in Nebraska. She was the VC Nebraska, kind of their professional. She was their worked there, was kind of their.
She had a position in the club.
She was a college liaison, I think, and she's also been an assistant at Northwestern and Michigan State, so very well respected around the league. And I think, Michigan State may have gotten rid of their previous coach, Leah Johnson, a year early because they knew that she was the future, and they wanted to make sure that she was doing that future at Michigan State.
Yeah, 14-2, the Spartans going into the match on Friday against Nebraska. Let's move into rotation 6 and talk about the Michigan Wolverines, who Nebraska has already seen once this year. But before we reacquaint you with the Wolverines, this segment's brought to you by Jiv Athletics. For you players or parents of players, if you're looking for the perfect layer under your spandex, Jiv Athletics makes high-performance underwear engineered specifically for volleyball players. This year, InStyle magazine named Jiv one of the best workout underwear brands in its category, and they're endorsed and worn by U.S. Olympic gold and silver medalist Micah Hancock, so you know they're built for athletes at the highest level. They're made without PFAS or harmful forever chemicals. Jiv's fabrics are breathable, moisture-wicking, and designed to give women true comfort and confidence under their spandex. So try them today and feel the difference. You go to jivathletics.com. That's JIV athletics.com and use code VSP15. VSP15. You'll get 15% off your order at jivathletics.com. They're not going to the big house. They're going to the arena right next to the big house, which is the big indoor house at Michigan. And I believe they've sold this out, right? I think I saw that this match is sold out. So this could be a crowd north of 12,000 in Ann Arbor to see Nebraska play Michigan, which would be a school record of attendance for the Wolverines. Michigan, they were really hot coming into Lincoln when Nebraska saw them in the Big Ten opener. Kind of swooned a little bit since then. They're 12-5 overall, 2-4 in Big Ten conference matches, and Nebraska took care of them back in late September.
Yeah, so the Nebraska was swept out there 22-10, 13. Really, again, they've had a big battle that first set too, but then Nebraska took over and dominated for that. So Michigan had a very good non-conference, but the 4 times they have lost have all been sweeps. They lost to Nebraska, Minnesota, Michigan State, which probably pains them, and then Indiana as well too. So,
which probably also pains them.
Yes, they hate losing. Well, they hate losing to all those matches. So but when you look at that match that Nebraska ended up beating them, they out hit them 380-108. Harper Murray had 11 kills. This was a very good Virginia Adriano match too, and Rebecca Alec had 9 kills. And then besides that first set, Michigan had very little on offense, and Allison Jacobs led them with 8 kills.
Yeah, Michigan, I think, is going to look a little different on Sunday than what the Nebraska saw in late September, because they were running a 6-2 back in the start of the conference season, and because of either necessity, because of injury, or because they just wanted to try something different, they're running a 5-1 now, or at least they were in one of their matches this weekend. And Morgan Burke, the Nebraska native, was the true setter for their win over Iowa. They beat the Hawkeyes in 5 on Sunday. Jacobs had 26 kills, so she's still their go-to player. She's 4th in the Big Ten, averaging better than 4 kills a set. And then middle blocker Serena Niambio, who didn't have a great match against Nebraska in Lincoln, is hitting 443, which I believe leads all Big Ten starting attackers. You throw out some of the setters who have high percentages, and you throw out a player like Manaya Ogbeje, who is not a full-time starter. And Serena Niambio is the leading hitter in the Big Ten, hitting over 440.
Yeah, so she's kind of anchors. We talked about this a couple weeks ago when we previewed them. They had a lot of attackers who are hitting at a high efficiency. So that means as a team, they're also up there. As a team, one of the best ones at 3rd in kills per set, 4th in attack percentage, still hitting 288. But on the other side of that too, they're not great defensively. I mean, they're teeing off on their opponents are teeing off of them. They're 17th in the Big Ten in hitting percentage, just allowing a total of they're giving up a lot of points there. I mean, 2-8. No, that's their opponents are hitting 226 against them, which yes. Oh no, we got problems for Jeff Sheldon again too. But good news is. Oh no, Jeff's back. Okay, sorry, we were getting glitchy there, but
Hi, I'm Mikey Hancock, two-time Olympian from Edmond, Oklahoma. Confidence means everything. For me, it comes from within. As an elite athlete, you look for external validation way too much. I've worked really hard to attain that and not seek external validation. JIV makes me feel confident because I don't have to worry about the functionality of my undergarment. At the Paris Olympics, I was so happy that JIV was the layer beneath it all, whether I was gallivanting the city or playing in the Olympic Games. Instead of adjusting what I'm wearing, the functionality of it helps me lock in and be in the moment. That's why I choose JIV, not just for game day, but for every day.
Man, we got to get out of here before my internet drops out again.
Yes. So that is going to wrap up our show for this week. There will not be a volleyball late on Friday night because Nebraska does start at 6 o'clock and the Huskers play Minnesota in football. So I imagine a lot of our audience will want to hang out to that as much as you hang on our every word. But we will have written stuff. You want to go read what we think about that match, go to huskermax.com. I'll have my game story. Jeff will probably have his 3 takeaways. I'll have my 3 thoughts in video form if you really want to look at this face. I'm sorry, but whatever. So we'll be back next week. Special note, we are going to push back our live show an hour to 8 p.m. to some scheduling conflicts. We're going to push it back to 8 p.m.
Yeah. I'm on the road next weekend, and I want time to get home.
Yes. Don't do this from the car. It's dangerous.
Absolutely. Thanks so much to Alumni Hall, JIV Athletics, and the Omaha Supernovas for supporting our show this week. You can find all of our stuff if you go to volleyballstate.com. It's a link tree. You can find merch. You can find links to our articles on Husker Max and also all of our social media handles because we know that you guys love to continue the dialogue online, sometimes even yell at us about show topics, things like that. We love it. We love it all. Keep it coming. And thanks to everyone in the I-80 Club Discord and who subscribed to be part of this live show. You too can become a subscriber for just $5 a month at patreon.com/I-80 Club. Lincoln, anything else?
Nope. Email us any thoughts at volleyballstate@gmail.com. But thanks for listening and thank you for living in the Volleyball State.